buddy? What's up to Lion Talk Live? Sir, we love you too, buddy.
What's going on, guys? It is Aiden Hutchinson.
What's up, man? It's your boy Amon-Ra St. Brown.
What's up, everybody? It's Calvin Johnson Jr. here, a.k.a. Megatron, a.k.a. First Ballot.
What's going on, Coach Dan at Lions Talk Live and the Duke Crew. This is Ball Hawk Ifeatu Melifonwu of the Detroit Lions. Everybody make sure you help support the YouTube channel Lions Talk Live by clicking that like and subscribe button. Let's get it and go Detroit.
Greetings and salutations to everyone out there in YouTube land. This is Dan Skipper, offensive weapon for the Detroit Lions. Make sure you all help support Lions Talk Live and Coach Dan by clicking on that like and subscribe button. Everybody, woo!
I love nothing more than watching Lions Talk Live every morning. Woo!
All right, well, greetings and salutations, everybody out there in YouTube land. I'm your host once again, Dan Thornton, and I want to thank you for joining us here tonight. A little bit of a special edition, Lions Talk Live evening show edition. It's 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to start this off with a little bit of news before we get to the main topic, which I'm guessing is why everybody's here, and that's a little bit of an update on... Yeah, I had to work on that graphic, by the way. Anyways, so that's why I want to show it. But anyway, Jameson Williams, we talked about it in the midday show. There was a big misconception, I guess you could say, about the status of Jameson Williams. We reported it midday today. Yes, Adam Scheffler and Timbuktu, everybody else had the story overnight, late night, that Jameson Williams had been suspended. But not so fast. He is possibly going to be suspended. We don't know yet. What I will say is, we talked about in the show, if it didn't happen by 4:30 today, then you know what? It's probably more than likely 90, 95, 99% chance it won't go into effect until next week. Why is that important? Well, Jameson Williams would be free to play this week, but the NFL, if they did invoke this, he would be out for the Green Bay Packers game and the Houston Texans game. If you're a Detroit Lions fan, I'm sure that's not what you want to hear. I'm not going to do a big, deep dive story on that since we've already covered today. We are going to get over to the main topic today, and part of that, we are going to bring in a special guest here. You guys know him. He's got his own YouTube channel. You guys all know him. He is our special guest, and it is Johnny Gaz from Johnny Gaz Sports. So let me bring Johnny on here. Johnny, how you doing today?
Good, brother. How you doing today, Dan? Thanks for having me on.
You know, hey, 4 o'clock in the morning gets here quick, so, I am ready to get back to get some sleep tonight. But anyway, everybody's here because they want to hear the update to the video we put out earlier today. I've been working on this thing while trying to do 20 other different jobs, so here it all goes. We all know the NFC North is, without a doubt, the best division in all the NFL this season. And it does seem like there's a lot of corroborating evidence that it is possible the LA Rams may be sellers versus buyers going into the trade deadline. One of the rumors out there is that Matt Stafford could potentially go to the Minnesota Vikings. I'm not here to really talk about that one, but I do believe it could possibly be a factor into what we're about to talk about. We all know Aiden Hutchinson went down. He's out for the year. Maybe he comes back for the playoffs. I don't know. We'll talk about that another time. But what we do know is Detroit Lions been mentioned with so many different trade options and partners. This one seems to be picking up a whole lot of steam. Deshaun Watson went down with an injury a couple days ago. We get it. He's done for the year and maybe potentially part of next year, if not all of next year. The Cleveland Browns are stuck with a ton, and I mean a ton, of dead cap space on a quarterback that isn't playing well and potentially might not play again in the foreseeable future. So they appear to be talking about being sellers. It is being reported through different personnel at the Cleveland Plains dealer and now the Baltimore Sun. In case you guys don't know, they're not that far apart. A lot of their departments cover both entities as far as teams. So here's the gist of it. And then, Johnny, we'll get your thoughts on it. If the Detroit Lions do make a trade with Cleveland Browns, it does appear it will be for Zadarius Smith and Myles Garrett. Now, what are you going to ask what that's going to haul in? Let me bring it up here. It looks like the Browns want our next spring's draft, the first and second round pick. Now you're going to say, well, that's not so bad. Well, not so fast. They also want Detroit's 2026 second and fifth. Now a part of that deal would also be throwing in Hendon Hooker. So Browns, as you all get it, they don't really have a quarterback right now, and they're thinking long-term, not short term. Hendon Hooker would answer a lot of that for him. We all know that they got rid of, their stud receiver. If they get rid of Garrett and Smith, you know what? There goes probably a lot of the power of the defense. This season would be a complete wash for the Cleveland Browns. They're not going anywhere. They're not getting to the playoffs. They're not going to do it this year and probably not next year. So if you bring in basically a rookie quarterback like Hendon Hooker, what are you able to do with him the rest of this year? Put no stress, no pressure on him, and he, you know what? He can just slowly develop. He's already been developing some here with the Lions. He's fully healed. They think he's got some real possibilities. It sounds like the Detroit Lions, though, do not want to part ways with Hendon Hooker, nor do they want to give up the 2026 second-round pick. I don't know more than that. That's what I have for you. Johnny, you just got all this, same with everybody else watching. We've got, it looks like over 3,000 people watching, so let that sink in. What do you think of this alleged possible trade option?
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Dan. I mean, Lions Talk Live always has the breaking news. I come here first for everything, so thank you for breaking it to us, and I appreciate that. And what I like, kind of what you said here, is including Hendon Hooker, which I think then takes away, because what I was seeing is they were going to have to give up not the 2025 first-round pick, but also the 2026 first-round pick. So I was thinking double dipping their first-round picks. If you can eliminate the 2026 first-rounder and give away that player, I know people don't want to give away your backup quarterback, and that's really your only option as a backup right now. But let's be real. If Jared Goff went down, the ship was going down with it. He's an MVP quarterback right now. And Hendon Hooker was no longer your answer. I mean, you could have even made that argument preseason this year, I think, still. But now I think it's pretty much solidified. So if that's how you described it, Dan, I kind of like this. And if you're telling me you can add 2 premier pass rushers to this rotation, I mean, that would be, I mean, if Aiden Hutchinson can somehow find a way to get himself back for a playoff run or a Super Bowl run, and then you parlay that into, I'm thinking that at the very least, Myles Garrett is a 2-year contract that he still has. So at the
about
very
19,
least,
20 million per season.
Yeah, and that's big money. But I mean, you're talking 14 sacks per. You combine that with Aiden Hutchinson. Oh my gosh. And that's before you even talk about Zadarius Smith. So to me, that this is a no-brainer if it is exactly how you laid it out. I'm taking that deal all day.
Right. So again, for those just joining us or those who didn't hear it, I want to clarify. This is what I'm being told. Next spring's, so 2000, whatever it is, 25, Detroit Lions first and second. 2026, you're giving up your second and a fifth, along with Hendon Hooker. So you wouldn't be able to maintain your 2026, if I'm doing the math right in my head, your first round pick, but not your seconds this year, this upcoming spring and the following spring, along with your first and a fifth, along with Hendon Hooker. Now, I get you're taking on some salary with these guys, but I'm going to guess every Lions fan out there would be like, that's not going to be a problem, because you think about the short term this season. Lions now have 2 pretty decent ends again. One of them is 31, 32 years old, kind of towards the end of his career. Myles Garrett's still not quite 30, so he still has some power left, some probably seasons left with him. Hendon Hooker, it does sound like the Lions do not want to part ways with him. It would be a tell to me that they like his potential in the future. Some of you are going to ask about, what about Max Crosby? I'm being told, but not from any specific, kind of way, that the Max Crosby deal, the Lions are open to it, but the problem they have comes down to their defensive formation. If you go ahead and Scooby-Doo, you check out the defensive tackles and ends, they're all fairly interchangeable. They're all basically guys 280 to 310 pounds, whatever it is. So there's not a whole lot of difference there. Max Crosby is not that guy. He is not. He's, whatever it is, 250 pounds. Somebody would have to Google it and look it up. I don't know, but that sounds about right. So he would take over the Sam position if they were to get Crosby. And then on obvious passing downs, clearly you would move to an end pass rush spot.
6'5",
but the line,
256, Dan.
Thank you for that. And where Garrett and Smith, they're not in that mold. They're somewhere 280, 290, somewhere in that mold. So again, staying consistent with what this regime wants out of its defensive front. They want to stop the run first. They want to get to the quarterback second. Hendon Hooker is somebody that I think most Lions fans really do enjoy and like. They like his potential, etc. But let me ask you, is it worth moving on from him?
Absolutely. I just don't think you tie your current situation to your backup quarterback. That is a maybe in this league. There's too much question left on him. And I think, everyone has said this over the past several weeks. The window for the Lions is now. It's not 4 years down the road when I think Hendon Hooker even kind of comes into play as far as could he start for this team or can he make a difference? To me, at the beginning of the season, I was telling people who come to my channel that this is a project. This is a guy that is not a solution for this year or next year. And the only way he was really seeing the field was going to be if Ben Johnson could somehow scheme him into play somehow to use his legs in an offshoot thing. But again, to go back to your question, I like the player. I like the man. I like the story. And I certainly just don't want to give away a player. But I think if you're telling me you're getting your 2 premier pass rushers in return and setting yourself up not only for a Super Bowl run, but what could be multiple years of just pure pass rush dominance, Hutch and Garrett, that's not fair. That's just not fair for other teams.
All right. And so from my understanding, when I ask for more details, here's basically how it goes down. All the draft picks are for Myles Garrett. Hooker would basically be a kick in with Garrett along with getting Smith. Smith, as most of you guys know, I don't remember the exact details when he was traded to Cleveland, but I want to say it was a couple 5th rounders or 6th rounders, something of that nature. Given his age, given his contract, the Browns don't sound like they're asking for a ton to get him, but they are also aware that a bunch of teams have reached out to the Cleveland Browns to acquire him, and Myles Garrett too, to be fair. So you're giving up basically a 1st, 2 seconds, a 5th for Garrett. You're removing him from their cap space. You're giving a much cheaper quarterback to them with a lot of upside. It seems like most people around the league, whether you're a reporter, a YouTuber, or somebody involved in scouting, whatever, if Hendon Hooker didn't have the knee injury, I think most people would say he probably would have been a high 2nd round pick, maybe a later 1st round pick. Somebody want to try to secure a 5th year option. Lions obviously gambled the dice on draft day, went up and got him. And then you could see right after he was acquired by the Detroit Lions, I want to say it was 3 or 4 different spots after him in the draft, all traded back. Now everybody was on board with trying to get Hendon Hooker. So I don't know if this will happen. Again, I don't have more news on Jameson Williams other than if he wasn't put into full suspension by the NFL today, it's probably not going to happen to next week. Let's talk briefly about that, Johnny. Everybody reported late last night or early this morning he was suspended, and then there was more confirmation came out from MCDC himself, among other people. So we haven't had any official word from the NFL. What do you think about this? Are the Lions going to be stuck with him not being able to play this week in Green Bay, or do you think it's more likely that if he is suspended, which again, we don't know he is, do you think it's more likely that he'll miss Green Bay and the Houston game?
Yeah, I got a lot of things to unpack there. I think the first thing is just the disappointment in what this is. And again, I know we still have to hear what the true suspension is. Do they actually stick to this? And what is it overall? It's a PES, not a PED. And I think people confuse the two a little bit. It's very important to note that difference because it could be a lot of things. It could be a masking agent. It could be, that's the worst case scenario. It could be a lot of other things. It's just so much speculation. So I'm not going to get into that. But what I will say is it's just the player you did not want involved in something like this. We know the history. We know what the Lions thought they were getting from him. And you just thought he was kind of on the other side of these sort of things. And it just seems like, unfortunately, 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of thing here in this case. Also, I had looked up 2 years, $23.5 million contract. That's what Zadarius Smith is on here with Cleveland, just FYI for future reference. But going back to Jameson Williams, ideally for Lions, he misses this week against Tennessee because I think they can survive the matchup against Tennessee more so than going to Green Bay the following week, which if they lose him there, it just is what it is. But if you're telling me they're going to lose him for Green Bay and then Houston, that's really tough. 2 road games, 2 tough games, 2 good quarterbacks. You're going to need your offense and you need him in those matchups. So it would be really unfortunate. I would rather see this play out where he's suspended this week and next. That's just wishful thinking. Big picture, the question remains, can you trust this player? He's talented. He's everything I think you wanted him to be in year 3 now, but is this the end of this? This is sort of strike 2. What is strike 3, or is there a strike 3?
Well, I guess we'll have to see. And again, I don't think it sounds like anybody knows the full details about what's going on with Jameson Williams. I do know he came out and made a comment last night. Hey, very apologetic. He's going to take it on the chin. I talked about it briefly this morning. I think that, I've coached for 34, 35 years, whatever. And I know when Zycam came out, and I had somebody in the comment section had to remind me what it was called, but that was sending a lot of that, and similar products were sending a lot of issues through the NCAA, NAIA, and Juke and NJCAA high or college basketball at the time, because people were randomly getting tested, and it was they were getting flagged because of products like that. So I don't know if Jameson Williams simply took something for a cold medication and that drew a flag or whatever. We're gonna have to probably wait to see it all.
Didn't it seem telling, Dan, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but didn't it seem telling the way that Dan Campbell responded to this in his interviews today? Maybe I read into things a little too much, but Dan Campbell's a player's coach, very supportive of his guys. And the responses that I got from Dan Campbell today was, well, we are planning to be without him for 2 games. We're moving on. And he would specifically name then the other group of wide receivers that are in that room, and did not even say Jameson Williams' names in a lot of the interviews that I heard today. That tells me the team already knows or just understands what's going on. So, I mean, and it's speculation on my part, but that's just what I got on Dan Campbell today.
Right. So, again, I don't want to make this video really about that one since we already covered today, but I figured we'd throw it in since, it's almost 7 o'clock, and obviously 4:30 NFL offices are closed at 4:30 officially. We're not going to know anything else till tomorrow. It's my anticipation, though, since we didn't hear today, tomorrow or today really starts the NFL week. You're probably not getting anything else on this topic, more than likely, until next week. So, all right, Johnny, why don't you go and give yourself a shout out to everybody about your awesome channel, where to find you, etc.
Appreciate you, Dan. Again, thanks for having me on. Johnny Gas Sports on YouTube. Again, just all Lions all the time, obviously, with everything that's going on now, pregame, postgame, lives, tier lists, anything you want related to Lions, NFL football with a fun and positive spin, come and find me. But as always, make sure to hit up Lions Talk Live, hit like on this video. Make sure to come back and see Dan, because he is your authority on breaking news here with the Lions. So thank you, buddy.
No problem. Thanks for joining us. All right, guys, if you would be so kind, hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button, all those other buttons out there. Hit your button on top of a button. Be a good human being. Be kind to others. If there is some sort of breaking news tonight, probably ain't getting it to you, because it's Jen. Jen told me to go hang out with her for a little bit. So, all right, guys, I'll catch you guys all on the next Lions Talk Live. Take care now.
Happy trails to you until we meet again.